Hey there YouTube, welcome to Big Mike Beard Wisdom. So, we're back on the Gambler again, and this is the front sway bar end links episode. And that's the side that's broke, but we're going to replace both sides, just to be safe. So that should be attached to that, as opposed to just, being separate there. And that effectively disables the front sway bar, which kind of sucks. So it makes the steering be a little bit less controlled feeling, a little bit more boaty, a little bit more when you go into a corner. Seems like it leans a little bit more. And then I'll do another video that has images of me pulling circles with no sway bar, so kind of like the way it's set up right now. So front sway bar disconnected, rear sway bar out because it's getting repainted. And then also with all the sway bars back in, that we can kind of see, okay, no sway bars, it's got this much body roll. Just a front sway bar, this much body roll. Rear sway bar in, this much. So that should be a pretty interesting video too. But this one's kind of one of those things where sometimes sway bar end links are easy, sometimes they're a pain in the butt. So let's get to cracking on this one. And then because we are in Minnesota, everyone's getting a nice dose. A rust penetrant, in this case, PB Blaster. And the interesting about this front one is how this kind of connects up here through this control arm. And then you can see back there in that sway bar. And then sway bar end links aren't held tight on the inside, so they may be able to be worked loose, they may not. So it might be a pretty good fight, but using a little bit of rust penetrant to help free anything that you can always helps, especially up here in Minnesota where rust just forms for the fun of it. All right, and then real quick, let's talk about the replacement ones. So these replacement ones greasable, and they're also mostly metal. And the nice thing is that you can see here they've got flats right there that you can put a wrench on. That way when you go to take these off in the future, you can actually take them off. The factory ones are a good bit different. So the way these are set up, there is no flat on that inside. So that's perfectly round. So you've got a 14mm nut on the outside that is a lock nut, so it's going to be tough when you got a lot of rust there. Then this part here is a metal outside, but the inside where that ball part, so the stainless steel ball part that runs all the way through, that's part of that threaded end, rides in a plastic cup, which isn't super great when it comes to like durability, but it helps with like noise, vibration, and harshness. So the new ones that I have might be a little bit louder, but I'm fine with it. They're going to be easier to service. And then these are kind of a pain in the butt to get off because of how that's set up. Now, you can see that lower one has something you can put inside of it that we can turn it. But it's a good luck getting anything there that's not a special tool. So we're going to utilize the weakness of that plastic cup to break these off, and then I'll cut flats into that ball end. That way I can actually get this to come off. So we're just going to stick this about right there and break it. So you can see this part's off now. And there's the plastic cup. And a lot of times, that's kind of what happens, is that this plastic cup breaks and then everything walks away and is loose. Otherwise, like the rear one, you saw where it snapped right in here. So as you can see, there is no flats to help you hold anything on these. And you can try gripping that, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. For me, 90% of the time it doesn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut two flats in it. So using a cutoff wheel like this, you could even grind it if you wanted to grind it, but you want to do two flats directly opposed to each other. That way you can put a big old crescent wrench on there, hold that while you take the nut loose. And then the handy thing about having both sides loose is that you can move this bar around. It's even easier if you can take the bar off, kind of like what I did in the rear. But you can just flip this up. That way now up here I've got way more room to grind on this and not have to worry about, you know, working it in between things and accidentally hitting something I didn't want to hit. Depending on the vehicle, the sway bar end lengths can be different left to right. So this is one of those vehicles where it's different left to right. You can kind of see that when this is angled straight and this is angled straight, one angles upward this way and the other angles upward that way. So they're polar opposites in how they line up. So both of these pointed straight up. You can see these two angle inward. So they're different. This driver's side one, when this backside here is sitting flat, that angles this way. So this is the correct one to use on this side. This is the passenger side. You don't want to get them mixed up. I almost got them mixed up because I brought them over here because I already knew which one was supposed to be the driver's side. That's the one I've been showing in all the earlier shots and stuff. So this side is the passenger side, but it's one of those things you just want to be careful of. Otherwise, once you get them bolted in, you'll be doing this process all over again, because the one going straight that way, if it had the passenger side, this would face this way as opposed to facing into the sway bar. And then if you're doing both sides, I would highly recommend you don't install the new part yet until you've gotten everything all good over here and ready to be bolted in, just in case you've got to do the exact same thing on this side. Alright, so I've got everything off this side and everything's off that side, so we can start assembling stuff. And the easiest thing to do is to essentially put in the bottoms on both sides first and then kind of line this up. So don't tighten anything down until you get both sides kind of lined up. Otherwise you may have to take stuff loose. So you want to try and get both sides through their holes and then the nuts on both sides before you really start tightening anything down. And then for the passenger side, you always want to just verify again. So when that top part there is sitting flat, this angles that way, which this one does. And you can definitely see the size difference between the factory unit and this Moog replacement unit. So the bar here is bigger. I don't know if it's hollow or if it's solid, but if it's solid, then that could definitely have much greater strength here depending on how those welds are set up. And the ball and cup areas are much bigger. Alright. Then, once you get that all good and tight, what you're going to want to do is go ahead and grease the grease fittings, and you should be good to go. Now, these end links weren't too bad. I mean, they're a bit of a bear because, you know, you had to cut them. There might be other tools that can get that out better. And then the other thing would be maybe doing something where you take the sway bar out. But I've heard these sway bars are a bit of a pain in the butt. All in all, as long as you're just doing end links, pretty simple. Really cutting those little grooves on each one maybe took 5 minutes a piece. So an extra, you know, 30-40 minutes of doing it. Just want to be careful where the sparks are going. That way you're not throwing them anywhere oily that might start a fire. Or at your face, in which case nothing hurts worse than get something in your eye. It's nice to have this fixed because this is going to definitely make the car drivable again. Well, that and obviously the control arm that I needed on the other side, and both rear control arms, and the fact I had it aligned the other day. But having this done actually makes it so that I don't have to worry about, you know, any broken pieces of sway bar end link stabbing into something and then costing me more money down the line. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll check you next time.